The memory of Charlie Kirk is starting a revolution all across America, but I had no idea he'd have such an impact in the UK, all the way down to marches in Australia and back up to movements in South Korea, where ironically this reminds me of those recent riots in France 4 days ago where the far left burned a Korean restaurant in protest of French leadership, as these concurrent protests just highlight the key differences between the left and the right. As reportedly, this TikTok was about Charlie.
The best part of this whole thing is that he is not martyr material, so his death will mean nothing. It will activate no one. It will impact few. It's just great.
Completely oblivious to the vigils hitting college campuses, with huge crowds even in New York City, as NASCAR races paid their respects, but also MLB games as the New York Yankees had a moment of silence alongside the NFL also honoring his life. But then, we started seeing Spain paying their respects, marches all the way in Australia holding up signs for Charlie, with South Korean citizens singing, "We are Charlie Kirk." Where we all knew the assassination of Charlie Kirk was going to ignite American conservatives and moderates, but nobody could have imagined he would become the face of freedom for the entire planet. As at the UK's Unite the Kingdom march, which was reported as 110,000 people, but was more likely millions.
This is the counter-revolution. There's been a globalist revolution for 20 years. We are the counter-revolution. It's not going anywhere, mate.
Carrying posters of not only Charlie Kirk, but his entire family, as they all rallied behind his memory.
To Charlie's family, we all pray for you, and we hope we honour his life.
So of course, the left tried to make this about the spooky far right.
What you're seeing here is probably the biggest far-right demonstration ever held in Britain. And I've been among this crowd, and I think it's obvious that many of the people here are wearing our flag as a badge of their own white identity and as a mark of hatred of our multicultural, multinational society.
But who knew the UK's far right was so diverse?
そして昔のイギリスを取り戻そうとしてる。これ日本でもやらんと。
Erica Kirk, this is for you. We love you. We stand with you. We will always have your back, and we love your husband, Charlie.
I have to come and support the event, uniting the whole country, bringing everybody together, bringing the 4 nations together. That's why I dress up and then come and support. I'll be integrated, so I have to respect the culture.
And notice how nobody was shouting down any of those very diverse conservatives, as they're all embracing Western culture and rejecting liberal tyranny. But nothing scares a political elite more than when the common man bands together against the ruling class. So they immediately went back to their same old tired playbook.
Tell me what community looks like. This is what community looks like.
Of protesters that mysteriously get these signs left behind by these mysterious figures, who they later discovered are funded by none other than their own tax dollars. Kinda interesting how the same exact thing was happening in the US until the Trump administration started tracing who was funding these riots, and they evaporated overnight. So of course, to offset millions of angry Englishmen, masked Antifa and Black Bloc had to make an appearance, chanting disgusting phrases.
This is for all the people that want to be here on our side.
Where their coppers initially admitted the problem areas weren't with the Unite the Kingdom marchers, but the Antifa idiots, to which the Met Police marched them right into each other, just so they could later state there was significant aggression directed at officers by the Unite the Kingdom protesters, but also turning off the replies, as the mainstream media rushed to echo those sentiments, stating far-right activists with clashes breaking out.
Marching through the streets of London, one of the largest right-wing demonstrations to take place in the UK in modern times. organized by the far-right anti-immigration activist Tommy Robinson. Close by, a much smaller counter-protest organized by anti-racism activists.
I'm just really against racism.
So close at one point that right-wing marchers began throwing things at them and pushing police.
London's Metropolitan Police said a number of its officers were assaulted by the right-wing demonstrators, Dorica, and that 25 people were arrested.
It really seems like every single time they start to lose control, they revert back to the same exact plays. As in this enormous march across the UK, I didn't see a single incident of property damage, compared to neighboring France that had their own riots 4 days earlier, as it initially started with the French angry at their political leadership. But then, women carrying French flags were being attacked by those not, with the Block Everything protests beginning to build barricades in the street, making makeshift roadblocks to stop traffic. And then burning buses to stop the streets, as sadly, that wasn't the only place they used fire on the freeways, as they specifically burned a Korean restaurant, later attacking the responding French police with trash cans. But the mainstream media didn't seem to cover it like the Unite the Kingdom rally, where they seemed to make it more about pressure on the government and how it started online in far-right circles, but now happens to have left-wing groups. So when the left burns down entire sections of the city, they're protesters in Paris, but if the entire community marches against the establishment, that's the far-right clashing with the police. But they only classify you as far-right, so they can later call you a fascist, as they simultaneously encourage psychos online they need to eliminate these evil fascists. But now, normal people no longer fear being called a fascist when they just murdered Charlie Kirk over allegedly being one, when all he was doing was having conversations and spreading the truth. And the more the left goes into overdrive trying to silence anybody that notices, the more the average citizen is finally saying no to their political violence. So as the calls for political violence have only amplified, people are now losing their jobs in neurology at universities. Microsoft is combing through their ranks to do the same, and even American Airlines is firing pilots who think it's okay to celebrate murder, as we're seeing a turning point not only in the US, with Americans making it their mission to dish out consequences, but now conservatives worldwide are rallying behind Charlie, as the left didn't even think he'd be seen as a martyr, but now Charlie's known globally as the face of finally fighting back. So if you appreciate my concise, sometimes lighthearted commentary on the tragic status that is today's reality, subscribe to Decoy Voice.